Hello, everyone. This is Shred's Takes. I'm Mike Shredder. I'm joined by another Ramapo rival I had at high school, Max Pernetti. He plays basketball up at Gettysburg. He'll be a senior, so I've known Max for a couple years now. But Max, thank you so much for joining the podcast. Glad to have you on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So let's get started just from the kind of beginning, right? So you grew up in Oakland, from what I understood. So what made the decision to go to play at Ramapo? Because you could have chosen Indian Hills or Ramapo. What made you decide to go play there?
Yeah, honestly, like it was more of a difficult decision you would have thought. I grew up with kids from Oakland my whole life, played sports with them, and had a lot of really great friends. But I obviously had the goal in mind that I wanted to play college basketball, and no matter what level it was, Rampo was going to give me the best opportunity to do that with the program they had already built. And like it turned out great. Like I went over to Rampo. I already knew a few kids because played lacrosse with some and just had some mutual friends already. But guys on the team were very welcoming, and when I got there, we got really close, and it just worked out great. Like we had great team camaraderie, and Jason Oppler, Casey Hunt, and those guys really took me under their wing, and like their 2 or 3 years there before I got to the top when I was upperclassman really helped me build into the player I am now. So it was kind of a no brainer, but also it was a little bit more difficult than you think because the program was so established at Ramapo compared to Indian Hills, and I still thought about both, but it made so much sense in the end to be end up at Ramapo and hopefully had the success that I was looking for there.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about transitioning with freshman year. I mean, I was in the same position. You get called up to varsity to play, but talking about that, we just talked off the air about it. But first game, you have to. It's funny for the folks there, but his first game in high school was against me as a junior, and they actually beat us, which was great. When that's not a great memory for me, but probably a good memory for him. But just talk a little bit about when you first got that call up, and then having to make that adjustment as a freshman, and you first walked into to playing varsity because I would say it was a big adjustment for me as you make a big adjustment to college obviously, but I even think it's even more of an adjustment in high school just because the guys are they're just everyone's kind of growing up, but like 15 versus 18-year-olds is a very big difference.
No doubt. And even to backtrack further past that, I was a big football guy when I was in middle school. So I wasn't sure if I was going to keep playing football or not. And I ultimately decided to not, which gave me the opportunity to play in all the summer leagues. So I was playing in like the JV summer leagues, played pretty well, and it all went great. And then in the fall, we play in the Patterson Summer League. And Coach Sandberg had asked me to come play with the varsity team. So I played and I was on the team and I played like a couple minutes a game, did my best, like held my own in a couple games. Like some guys couldn't make it, and I played pretty well. So it gave me the opportunity to try out for the team when November came around. So I made the team, did well, like pretty well in all the scrimmages, kind of held my own, was on the roster and working my butt off in practice. And opening night comes around, we're at Ridgewood, and I'm in layup lines, and we have 4 out of our 5 set. So there was like a potential of me being like a starting 4 in that game. And it was me and another senior who I thought that he was just going to play the kid who was a senior because like I was a freshman. I was 175 pounds, and the jersey looked like a poncho on me. And I don't know. I was ready to go, but I did not expect that to happen. He calls me over from the layup line, like looks out of the corner of his eye, and I walk over to him. He puts his arm around me and he goes, "All right, we're gonna have you start at the 4 tonight." And I was like, wow, this is real. I'm about to start at Ridgewood tonight because that was the thing too. Like it was such a big deal, but for our schools and like for our teams that like opening night it was Ridgewood Ramapo. Like that was like the game, and like a lot of people from town come in. Like we have a lot of parents and adults from our town, parents and adults from your town, and students there. So it was a really big deal for me, and like it was almost a shock. And like I remember like sitting down before they called the starting lineups, and I was like here we go, like this is it. Like I got four years of this coming up, and I was not expecting to be in that position so early on, but it was great. Like that was everything I ever hoped for. Like when I decided I wanted to go to Rampo, like thinking about playing in the Ridgewood game and all that, like it was a big deal to me. So it was really like it was one of the turning points like in my basketball career where I was like, wow, like I really love this, and like I want to go as far as I can and take this as far as I can. So that was like a great moment for me.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember I joked with guys with that. You hit a step back jumper on me. I remember in that game, and
That was a broken play. Like we had like an inbounds play to start the second half, and I remember like I caught the ball and I'm supposed to hand it off to the guy who inbounded it for like a middle screen handoff, and the kid who passed me the ball went to the opposite corner. So I just like turned and faced the basket. And I looked up and I just like started dribbling to the elbow and took like a sidestep shot that I probably shouldn't have shot. I remember Sandberg like saying like pull it out, and I hit it, and he was like, and like everybody kind of just like got up off the bench, and he just was clapping, and I didn't really know what I had just done, but I just got back on defense, and I was like, all right, we'll call it a day there, and I got back, and that was honestly it could have been really bad if I missed that shot. It was probably a terrible
It
idea.
wasn't that bad of a shot, but it was
Yeah,
funny because the
that's
guys
not that
go
wasn't
like,
like in my game. Like I could probably have gotten away with that like any of my 3 years after my freshman year, but like in my first game my freshman year, like probably like my game plan if I were to score or get the ball like over my left shoulder on the block or like another type of hook shot or something in the paint. And
right.
first 5 seconds of the second half after we run a broken inbounds play, the freshman kid shooting a sidestep jump shot. So it was kind of funny, but it went in. So thank God.
Yeah, well, it's so funny because I remember after that play, my coach goes, like, put a hand up. Like, what are you doing? And to be fair, like that, this is a big problem I had. I could not guard anybody on the perimeter. That's why I stood in the paint my entire career. And you step back, and I like stumbled back. So what I want to transition into is, you had your sophomore year where you were kind of more of a role player, but then you kind of developed into being a really good player your junior and senior year. But just talk a little bit about kind of that adjustment. Like, how did guys that you played with, help pave that way to get you comfortable to play? Because I would say for me, like it was sophomore year is where I kind of had to learn that kind of curve. And I think that you did too. But, again, you played with obviously a really good team, a team that beat, me a lot in high school. So, what was kind of the ability for you to like, what you learned that helped you become a better player as you progressed and then now eventually now playing at Gettysburg?
Yeah, I would attest a lot to our coaches first. We had Joe Sandberg and Gary Sandberg, his father, were great, and Gary put a lot of work with me in like sort of like the forward offensive realm, and they just emphasized defense so much, and that really transformed my game. And I think that my freshman year continued, and I didn't really play a ton more the rest of the season, but I learned so much, and I was just taking a lot in practice and tried to show up with a good attitude every day, just to like learn and know that I was going to be on this team for 3 more years, and like at some point my time was going to come where I needed to lead for guys who were going to be my age at some point. And like you said, we had great teams. Like Jason Oppler, my freshman year, had already had 2 years of varsity experience under his belt. KC with another, and they had gone to a sectional championship together. So I was ready to like just take everything in from them, and at some point, hopefully, be a big piece of a team that won hopefully multiple championships, which we ended up doing, thankfully. But Casey and Jay like really kind of emphasize like some of the like I guess like tricks of the trade or like sheets of varsity basketball and just like getting to understand and getting acquainted with everything. And like they just were willing to put a ton of work in too, and like really willing to be patient with me. So my sophomore year comes around and I'm in the starting lineup like the whole season. Like I started that game, started a few more games the rest of that year, and then I was coming off the bench mostly. But I started every game my sophomore year, and I played like it was a 32-minute game. I played like 8 to 10 minutes a game. So I would like play a short shift in the first half and then like come in sparingly in the rest of the game. But like I was kind of just counted on to play some really good defense, like get like a couple layups if they came my way, like block some shots. But I was really just a guy that was going to go out there and like work really hard, do the dirty work for guys that maybe wouldn't, or like we just needed a guy to do that. And like sometimes I had moments where I played more and like I was counted on. So that felt good. And I had already understood what it took to be a good varsity player from learning a whole year before that. And like we had put it all together. Like my freshman year, we were 16-12. And then my sophomore year, we go 24-5 and we made it to the sectional final. We lost to Bergen twice. We actually beat Rutgers Prep that year. And then I think we lost to a couple other public schools, and then we lost to Demers in the championship. But we built so much, and we had a great group of guys who was a lot of their first year on varsity my freshman year too. So we had 1 year under our belt, and I learned a ton from coaches and players and just playing experience in general. So you transition that into my junior year. We bring in Neil Quinn from Northern Highlands, who's a Division I player. He's playing at Richmond. He's a stud. Just played for like Irish national team this past summer, which is great. We lose Jay, which is a big deal because he's a great leader and a great player. But now you have Casey Hunt, who scored his 1,000th point in his second game of his senior year. Neil ended up scoring 1,000. We had John Hooley, who ran around and made any guard life hell. And Kyle Harancic, who was a guy who, like, if he was on your team, you loved him and you hated to play against him because he was also a pain on defense and on offense too. So that was the year, like we had a complete team. We set at the time, the school record for wins. We made it to the sectional final and dominated at home by 25. We played at Rutgers and lost, unfortunately. And then all those guys leave, and I go into my senior year, and I'm the guy who has the most experience, and I feel so prepared from all the lessons I learned and all the leadership styles that I got to take in before that. And we don't have as talented of a team, but we got has guys that worked really hard. We had great juniors, a good senior group too. And we made it back to that sectional final after like having a little bit of a low in the middle of the season still. Made it back to that sectional final, won on the road, and then we lost our last game, the group semi, but it would have been our last game anyway because of COVID. So like that progression, like 15 to 18 years old, like you learn so much about the game, about being a leader, and just like basketball in general, like the way you got to play, especially in New Jersey too. Like it's like eat or be eaten. And there's so many good, even public schools. Like you guys
Oh
are
yeah.
great. Like Highlands gave us a lot of really great games, and then we played a bunch of those public schools too. And like you got to be ready to go. Like you have to have your A game every single night, and it's like you play every other day for the most part. You play Tuesday, Thursday, and maybe you play a Saturday game. You have to bring it every day because if you catch, like, everybody wanted a piece of Ridgewood, everybody wanted a piece of Ramapo because they were the good public schools, and if you didn't have it that day, like anybody could beat you. So yeah, like so many lessons learned, and that comes with me today here too. Like that always stays with me.
Yeah, it's funny, guys. I mean, you think about the good public schools. I mean, I know when I was a senior, like Hackensack was
Yeah,
really
Hackensack.
good. You guys, I mean, Highlands was up and down, but they had so much talent. So like those like four teams generally were always in that constant out. And I was talking to Casey about this in the last, like you're playing these teams twice a year too. So like when you're saying bring it, like, the scouting report doesn't really change a whole lot, but it's also in the sense like you have to also make adjustments because these teams have gotten better, even if they're going through lulls. Like their players are still there, right? And whenever we played, you guys or Highlands or Hackensack, even if the team's having a down year, we knew the players were talented. We knew they were well. We knew the coaches were going to get them in the right positions. It's just up to what's going to be able to get done. But talk a little bit about now your decision to go to Gettysburg. Right now, you wanted to decide, okay, I want to go play college basketball. What went into that decision to go to Gettysburg, and what made you decide I want to be a college hooper?
Yeah, I mean, again, like when I decided I wanted to go to Ramapo, I knew it was because I wanted to give myself the best chance to get to this level and play college basketball. And it kind of started for me like going into my junior year. I had a lot of interest from some high academic D3s, and I started really understanding like this was the pool I was going to be in. And a lot of the schools are very similar: liberal arts, like high academic Division III colleges, and mostly Pennsylvania and some other parts of the Northeast. So I had a good idea of like what region I was going to end up and what it was really going to look like. And now it was like getting an understanding of a lot of schools. So I really took it on early. I visited a bunch of schools in Pennsylvania area, some like closer to New Jersey, some more out here where I am now, which is like 3.5 hours from Bergen County, where we're from. But I really just tried to get a good understanding and get a good feel for campuses, coaches on my visits. So I visited here at Gettysburg over spring break, so like in February or March of my junior year in high school. And I did a few visits that week, but like a lot of stuff really stood out to me here. Like the campus was great. I didn't get to meet any of the players on that visit because they were also on spring break, I'm pretty sure. But hung out with the coaches a lot, and they're all great people, and they had a really clear vision for this program. And the thing about it, like we're very successful now. We still have really high aspirations, but when I was getting recruited here, like Coach Dunn got here and they won like 6 games in his first season. Like the year before that, they won, I think, like 4 games under a guy who was here for a really long time. But he had won 6 games that year. And then my senior year, I committed really early on in my senior year. I came back for an official in the fall. And like 3 days later, I decided I was going to come here. That season, they went 12-13. And then my first year after we had no season because of COVID, we won 15 games. We won 15-10. I think we went 16-11 last year. We made it to the conference semifinals. And like, we're really like, now we're not really where we want to be yet. We know we could be better, but we got the program back to where it belongs. Like we're supposed to be a successful basketball program. And he had the clear vision that like when he came in here, he was going to turn this thing around, and he brought in great people to do that. And we have a great coaching staff too. We brought in 2 new assistants this year. One played at Hood, which is like not too far from where I'm at. And then we got another guy who just came in from Florida State, who was a manager and a student assistant there. And we have a great head assistant, Evan Elberg, who was an assistant coach at TCNJ for a while. That was his most recent thing before coming here. He's been here for my entire career. And like him, Coach Dunn, and I haven't met the two guys yet. I'm actually meeting them today, the new guys, but him and Coach Elberg and Coach Dunn have put so much into like rebuilding this culture and laying down the framework for us and leaving it up to us to kind of build this thing back up and get where we need to be. And we really have a great culture laid out. And just because we're so close off the court too, and we have the clear vision in mind together when we're on the floor, when we step between the lines, we know like this year is going to be a make or break year for us. We have two top 15 programs in the country in our conference, and we've been chasing them for the past years that I've been here. We took down Swarthmore, who was number 9 in the country on our senior day last year in a big game for us. We ended up losing to them in the playoffs, but like when we beat them, we realized like we're here. Like, and we came from like the bottom 2 years ago when I wasn't here yet, or 3 years ago when I wasn't here yet. And now we're here. Like we're one of those teams. Like we're not just like the third best team in the conference anymore. Like it's a competition between those with Johns Hopkins and Swarthmore, who I'm referring to. Like we're in that conversation, and we're going to show teams in our conference that we're all about it this year. So
Yeah, I mean, one thing I was going to say is like, your conference obviously is really competitive, but I'm looking at your schedule from last year. I mean, you guys did not play, an easy schedule. I mean, you went to Florida and you played Mountain Union, who's, obviously was an incredible team this past year. I saw you played Bates, and I mean, Bates had a really good guard in Stephon Baxter, who we played against, and he was really tough. And then you go in, obviously, as you said, like even outside of Swarthmore and Johns Hopkins, because everyone knows that like Muhlenberg has guys like, I mean, I played AAU with Danny Gaines, and he's terrific, and your Sinus has good players. I mean, it's a tough conference, right? So, talk about like, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make in your game when you first walked in and said, okay, this is a good conference, right? I played basketball, I've been successful at it, but what's the biggest adjustment I had to make in my approach, maybe, or your game? Because I've talked to guys about this. Either you make a change to your game completely, or it's maybe just the way you approach the game. So, talk a little bit about that.
So my philosophy for my game has always been, I'm just going to find a way to win. But like the physical change I needed to make the most, like I mentioned before, like my freshman year in high school, I was a super skinny kid, and I wasn't even like I got a little bit stronger throughout my high school years. I maybe gained like 10 pounds in high school, but I got here, I was like 195 probably. The biggest thing I needed to do was get in the weight room. Like I was actually playing, like I was just an undersized 5-man last year for our team coming off the bench, and I played a little bit of the 4-2 here and there. But like to be able to like go down low and like play with my back to the basket, I needed to put on a lot of weight. So I'm sitting like right now around like 210, like 212 depending on the day. But I had to gain like between my freshman year when the season ended and the time we started up sophomore year, like I needed to attack the weight room. And I honestly still need to do that. I'm still doing that every day. I'm still working on that all the time. But like that was the biggest thing for me, because I was not like when I came in here, I was too small to be playing with my back to the basket. Like I was going to get pushed around, and we have really, really strong forwards, and like we work so hard against each other in practice. So that is one thing that gets me so much better too, even with like, if you put the weights aside, but me putting the extra work in on my own to get in there and like change my body up a little bit is a big deal. And then also like the speed of the game, obviously, like you feel that when you go from middle school to high school, and then you feel that when you go from high school to college. Like you're moving. And we talked about this off the air too. Like New Jersey does not have a shot clock.
No.
That needs to change. And like we each had games where they didn't get into the 40s for both teams. But like you gotta go. Like you get the rebound, you get it to your guard, and you got to get down there and like 4 to 5 seconds or less and get into your set, because the shot clock's not waiting for you, and you got to move. And we like to get up and down a lot. So it's get the rebound and go. You either get something in transition. We like to run teams to death. And we either don't, if we don't get that, we get into a set fast, because you got to go. And that was a big adjustment too. Like even in practice, like we play sets with the shot clock. Like I get the rebound and get it to a guard, and I got to get down to the block quick.
Yep. That was a big adjustment I had to make too. It's funny. So in high school, I was probably 255 my senior year, and in college I got it down to like 225 going into my freshman year. but I realized I was too thin. So then I got back up to around, 250 my senior year. But like with that said, I had to be the first guy down on both ends, right?
Yeah.
Because especially, I mean, you played Bates in our conference, but I mean, like we played against Williams, who was a top 10, 15 team this year, Middlebury, who had the D3 player of the year, but again, we had good bigs at Amherst as well. And you're getting down, like you have to get down because the big thing is like, even if they're saying a trail ball screen or they're the bigs
Yeah.
running and trying to seal you, right? The big thing is, again, like if you're not down there in the paint ready to go, you can't sprint up and guard a ball screen. You can't be ready to guard the guy in the post. Like, it's the most embarrassing thing I think ever when you hustle to get a rebound, and then a big guy beats you on the other end, and he dunks it. And it's just like in
Yeah.
college,
Yeah.
that was a big adjustment because I mean, we played in high school. A lot of the bigs would just trail the play. So like you can just jog back and trot back. And I mean,
Yep.
I'm not sure that's exactly what you did, but I would just like jog back because I know the big would just be trailing the play anyway, and I didn't have to really worry about it. But in college, I'd be full, I had to be all the way back, and
Yep.
that was a big adjustment, that in strength for sure.
Yeah.
But I think also in a sense, you kind of learn to get yourself like you learn a lot about patience too,
Yeah.
when you play, because you have to figure out ways to score against better players. So, but to talk a little bit about now you're a senior, right? And that's I mean, I had the same thing, I guess, in a sense this past year because I just graduated. But you go into like the sense of when your senior year is the big year, right? You take a big leadership role, right? And
Yeah.
but also in a sense, like obviously I know you want to have a productive year. I mean, when you've had I looked at your stats, like you shot a good percentage last year, and generally a lot of your points came in the paint, but what's the big things that you're looking to do from a senior standpoint, maybe outside of just like I want to produce for myself. I mean, I feel like I know some of the answers are going to come out of your mouth, but talk a little bit about just what you want out of your senior year.
Yeah. So I'll start like just in the leadership sense first. Like I'll say the same thing pretty much that I said, like talking about my process in high school. I want to be a guy who, like, I'm 22. We have 6 18-year-olds coming out on our team we have a kid from Estonia, we have 2 kids from Slovenia, and kids from all over the place on our team in general. But like guys that need to like learn a little bit more, and like they'll get a flow for it and adjust to it when we play pickup and everything. But just to be even off the floor, like when kids need stuff on campus, like make them feel like they can come to me and talk about anything, basketball related, not basketball related. But I feel like this is another thing that our coach emphasizes a lot, and I really agree with. Like if we have 20 leaders on our team, then we're great. Like we have guys that are able to help each other and lead by example. And I feel like there's got to be a step ahead for me. And like I'm a senior with 3 other guys on our class who are phenomenal kids. And we got to just be the example for everybody. Like we have to set the goals and show the way to success and understand like this is what we understand. This is what we need to do day to day and lay that ground down for people. But yeah, I mean, I've tried to pride myself in every single environment that I've been in to be a leader. Like I had an internship this summer in New York City, and I had an intern team of 5, and I tried to be the guy to lead by example and be a great leader all the time. And it's again, it's not even just sports. It's becoming a man. You want to be a leader everywhere you are. So with that being said, I need to be a great guy in the locker room, and I try to do that all the time, but even more so this year because I don't want to look back at any point and be like, I could have done that better as a leader. I could have done this.
No,
So
for
I'm
sure.
going to continue to do that. And then on the floor, like I'm going to go out there and like whatever opportunity I'm given, I'm going to work my ass off. Like that's as simple as it gets. And like, it doesn't matter how much I play. It doesn't matter if I play at all. Like who knows what'll happen. I'll get whatever I deserve. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do anything I can to help this team win basketball games. Cause honestly, we have a lot of really high goals in mind, but they're not unreachable. Like we can win the conference this year, and we know that, and we understand that, but it's not just going to happen. Like we got to work hard in pickup. We got to work hard this fall. We actually
Yeah.
have 8 days before our start date in October where we can have some practices, which is great. So we can work on like putting the offense in, and then just being like mentally prepared too. So like I just got to put a lot of time into that, and I've always done that. And I know what I need to do, but I just need to continue to do that because knowing like I never want to have any regrets, but especially this last year, you don't want to have any regrets in any form of the game, whether it's the preparation, the physical game, or just being a good teammate and a good player to my coaches where I can help them with anything they need, or I can help my teammates with anything they need too. So that's what my philosophy is.
No, exactly. I mean, especially even as you move on into life, right? You want to develop where people can trust you and see like a work ethic and see, an ability to kind of connect with people in a positive way, right? It's a lot. I mean, that's something I had to like learn this year too, because I was in and out of the lineup with injuries. I mean, I've never really been injured my entire high school or college career. This year, I was unfortunately set back by a lot of back injuries, but like there, like I can kind of attest to that. You try to help your team, figure it out anyway. We had a really young team, so I was like, all right, I'm going to take that opportunity, right? And I think that you're kind of realizing that now too. It's kind of funny though if you think about it, because in a sense, as you've kind of in a sense been, like you said, been prepared for this because you've been around good leaders
Yeah.
for a lot of your basketball career. I mean, Casey and Jay were good leaders, and even think about other guys like Hooli and Kyle, and guys like that, and good coaches, right? Like that's like leadership just matters. But I think one thing to end it off with is just like what'd you do this summer? I guess a little bit from a job sense, your future search. Like, what do you ideally is the goal from a job standpoint?
Yeah. So I had a great internship this summer. I worked with WME, which is an agency in New York City that's owned by Endeavor. And I was in their sports group with their basketball team. So the sports group, the basketball group acquired Bill Duffy's agency. If you don't know who that is, look him up. He's an incredible basketball agent, recognizing talent. So we acquire his agency, the basketball team, and they merge it from marketing and on-court. So we have a group mostly in Los Angeles who does on-court negotiations. So like they just signed Anthony Edwards from Clutch. Like I learned a ton about just marketing strategies and like outreach and things like that. So like thinking about how brands align with certain players on their interests, where they're from, many other things like that, trying to just bring players the money and like good publicity too. So like just trying to be like that's a thing too. Like I would love, after this summer, I learned about being a marketing agent a lot. So something like that would be really cool. I really hope honestly to do something like that going forward after this year, hopefully have some opportunities to get back into that field full time, because I honestly, like, I had that internship. I didn't really know what to expect, because it was like an agency. I was like, I don't know, do I want to be an agent or not? But I think that became more clear for me. Like I might actually want to be a marketing agent in sports, because I really always liked marketing. I wanted to work in sports, and you get to client face. Like I got to meet a ton of really cool guys. So I met Grady Dick. I met Jarris Walker. I met Cam Whitmore, amongst a lot of people. And actually, like even like Bill Self, really cool, because he's an unbelievable basketball coach. And
Oh yeah.
I was at this get together with our agency after the NBA draft, which I got to attend also, which was incredible. And there's so many people in the room that could strike people a lot. And I tried not to be, because I'm in the room for a reason. So like I try to hold myself to a high standard and like go up and introduce myself to these people, even though they might not remember who I am 5 minutes later. Because like, why would you not take advantage of an opportunity to shake your hand with Bill Self, or Hurley from UConn was there too. So like I go up to him and I just say stuff about New Jersey basketball and how I've met his dad before. Like you try to find something in common and be a good person and try to network the best you can. So that's how going forward. Like I'm very outspoken. I talk a lot. I go off on the tangent a lot, but I try
As well.
I try to put myself out there. So like that's what I want to get out of at least for to get my feet on the ground and get my feet wet, start out somewhere there would be incredible. And it was a great summer doing that.
No, absolutely. I mean, that sounds like great stuff. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I mean, I know you and I've kept in touch, when you've been at Gettysburg and, all that stuff, but it's good to obviously, talk in somewhat of a face-to-face standpoint again. And, obviously I wish you the best of luck, not just with your future endeavors, because I think that will go great for you, but just obviously that this year at Gettysburg, I'll definitely be, looking at the scores and seeing how you're doing and all that stuff. And, obviously anytime you want to hop back on this, you are more than welcome.
Yeah, totally. Maybe
absolutely.
the mid-season one. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this was really cool. Thanks so much for having me. And like I know like we have a lot of great memories from playing against each other and just like sharing the common playing college basketball at the like you're in a really high academic conference too when you played. And so am I. So we honestly share a ton of the same interests and they align. So it was really cool to just chat and like share some stories and stay in touch with that way. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. So for everybody, Stress Takes, I'm Mike Sherrod, and I'm with Gettysburg forward Max Pernetti. So thank you so much for tuning in.